Dear students, so we were reading the change of narration from direct to indirect, and last time we have read the rules regarding assertive sentences. If the direct speech is in assertive, how to write it in indirect form. Now today we will move over to the other type of sentence, that is our interrogative sentence. So if the direct speech is written in interrogative form, what to do, that is our concern. So here you can see on the screen that I have written in the beginning that the object of the indirect speech is to convert the direct one into an assertive. The direct speech might be assertive, interrogative, imperative, optative or exclamatory, but indirect speech must be written in an assertive form. You have to express the feelings or the sense of the direct speech in assertive form, in a statement. Okay, that is you have to do. So now what we have to do now, see how it is done. So before we directly go into the direct speech and indirect speech, directly we go into the questions and answers, let us see how indirect speeches, how interrogative sentences are formed. Once you know how this is formed, it will be easier for you to go reverse, because direct speech will be in interrogative, indirect will be assertive. So you know how to form interrogative from assertive, you can do the reverse very well and very easily. So here it is written that subject, auxiliary, sometimes verb and object, means if the direct speech or if any sentence which is an assertive one, if that sentence is consisted of a subject, an auxiliary, a verb and an object, in that case, in order to write it or express it in an interrogative form, you have to put the auxiliary before the subject. Auxiliary will come first, then subject, then verb, then object. Now how to do it? See, it is written there, you are a boy or a girl. So now here you is the subject one, are, that is an auxiliary, a boy or girl, that is object. So auxiliary is there. In that case, what you have to do, you have to write it, are you a boy or girl. Same thing is happening with the next example, you have done it, have you done it. Here subject you, have is the auxiliary, done main verb, then it is the object. Some other times, which I forgot to mention during the online class, that sometimes what happens, let me write it, sometimes there is subject, main verb and object in direct, of course in assertive one. So in that case, how to change it into indirect, how to change it into interrogative? It is very easy. What you have to do, you have to hire an auxiliary. Now while hire an auxiliary, see, we hire do or does or did. Now what to write there? Plus subject plus verb plus object. That is the rule of the interrogative. Now see how to do it. Suppose I am writing that he plays football. So you have to write there, because plays is there. Plays, that is written in third person singular number, s is there with the verb. So you have to write there does, then he, then play football, like that. So here I am writing only play, but in case of s we have written does. Remember this thing. Had it been he played football, he played football, we have to write there did he again play football. Now had it been you play football, there you had to write do you play football? Do you play football? Okay, that's how you had to write it. So in place of main verb, if there is no auxiliary, we are hiring an auxiliary, and that hired auxiliary is do verb. Either it is written in do or does, or in case of past we have written it did. So that is how the whole thing is done. So remember, when I am going back from interrogative 1 you are going to assertive 1, this does, do or did, all these things they vanish, they are never there. In their place we write the main verb, like plays, like here played, like here play. Remember this thing very well. So now come to the next rule, that is a rebooting verb. Now rebooting verb should be there, ask or asked, depends on the tense of the rebooting verb. If it is in present tense you can write ask, or you can add s with it if there is a third person singular number subject, and then you have to if the rebooting verb is in past tense, then you have to write asked, ed you have to add with ask. Then you know omit commas and inverted commas, then add a linker, you have to add a linker, and then in that case linker is if or wh word. In our previous case we have done that, we have added that as the linker, but now it will be if, and after if we are writing the main direct speech. How is it written? The direct speech will be written in assertive 1. So direct speech will be there in the interrogative format, but you have to think it from the point of assertive point of view, I mean. Okay? And if the direct speech is beginning with a wh word, then we will have to write that wh word in the beginning of the narration, indirect narration. Okay? That wh word will act as the linker of the reporting verb in between the reporting verb and the direct speech. Who will be the linker? Wh word. If there is no wh word, there will be if or whether. Whether or if, how the rules are there, later I will discuss it, go deeper, but right now you just understand the base, and then only we can make it. Okay? So let's come to the next point, that is some examples are there. My friend said to me, are you going to school? So you have to think the direct speech, are you going to school, in an assertive point of view. From an assertive point of view, what is it? You are going to school. So now you know previously that in the direct speech two things change. We change two things. What are those? The pronoun and the verb. So my friend asked me if I was going to school. That will be the answer. Why I was? Because you means here the listener. Who is the listener? Me. So in place of you, you have to write me. That is the subjective form of me is I. That's why I had written there I. Then comes the be verb. Generally I takes am, but here we have to write was, because asked is written in past. That's why I had highlighted asked, the rebooting verb, and the verb of the direct speech, that is was. Now come to the next point, that is my mother said to me, have you eaten all the sugar? So my mother asked me if I had eaten all the sugar, because you means here the listener, and listener is me, whereas the speaker is my mother. So you, that is the subjective pronoun, and if you write me in the subjective form it will become I. That's why I had written there I. Next comes, Kinjoy said to Suman sir, where are you going? So you have to think like you are going without are you going, while converting it to an indirect one, only then. So Kinjoy asked Suman sir where he was going. So here I did not write if, because already the direct speech contains a WH word with it. So if the WH word is there, that WH word will do the job of the linker. It will glue the two sentences, I mean the two parts of a sentence, that is a rebooting verb part and the direct speech part. Then comes Ahil said to Riju, are you going to bite me? My God, Riju, don't do it. Okay, so Ahil asked Riju if he was going to bite him. Now then comes type 2, what I was discussing previously, like do, does, did. These do, does or did, if they are in the beginning of the direct speech, which is an interrogative kind, or those things, those higher auxiliary do, does or did, they are placed right after the WH word, also in the interrogative kind of sentences. There, in that case, in both these cases, these do, does or did will be omitted, and in their place we have to write there nothing. They will be omitted, but their tenses will be carried forwarded by the main verb. Suppose there is did, so we have to think the main verb is written in past. Suppose there is do or does, we have to omit them, but think that the main verb is also in past, in present, because do or does, this is the present form of the auxiliary do. See what I have written there. Supriya said to her friend, do you have an extra pen? So Supriya asked her friend if she or he had an extra pen. Saptaki said to Raj Kishore or Kishore, what do you have in your pocket? So Saptaki asked Kishore what he had in his pocket. See what? After what there is do. That do is auxiliary, higher auxiliary. We have omitted it, and after that we have started right from the pronoun. In the present, in the previous example also, it was written, do you have an extra pen? So do you, we are omitting do. In its place we are writing nothing, but we are directly starting from the pronoun you, and you is becoming she or he, because the listener here, her friend, who may be he or she, that depends. That's why we have written he or she, his or her, whatever it is you can write there. Then we have written the rest of the part, but we have omitted do or does, because this do, does or did are used as an auxiliary, higher auxiliary. So higher auxiliary in interrogative sentence will not last while you are writing the same sentence or expressing the same sentence in an assertive tone. Only then the do verb, which is used as an auxiliary, will be omitted. So you revise the whole thing carefully, and I believe it will help you a lot. Thank you very much, students. Let's call it a day. Thank you. Tata.